Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. I'm Miles here with Nick. Nick, how are you doing today?
Not as well. We'll talk about it. Unfortunately, it was a tough night for Cavalier fans, but hey, we talked about it being a first round entertainment, and we're getting loads of entertainment in the second round too.
That's right. We've got a lot to talk about as the theater of the playoffs continue. Last night, apologies for my voice. I was at the Cavs game, the heartbreaking loss to Indiana that we're about to get to, and my voice was lost by the end of the first quarter, and just slowly trying to get it back. Unfortunately, not enough to get that victory. Oh man, I
Yeah,
let's
you had your voice lost for cheering and then for anguish.
For agony. Yeah, I'm still wearing this shirt. These shirts were sweet, but it's only going to be remembered for one of the most heartbreaking losses in franchise history as the Indiana Pacers defeated Cleveland 120 to 119 after trailing for most of the game. They have another ridiculous final minute comeback, and it was all capitalized by a Tyrese Haliburton step back three in the final seconds to get the victory home. I mean, first of all, Nick, I guess we'll start from, just our perspective as, Cavs fans. This was already a difficult situation coming into this game, of course, with Garland, Hunter, and Mobley all being questionable for this game, already being down 1-0. Eventually, they all are scrapped. They don't play. So the Cavs are without their second, third, and fifth or sixth best player, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yep.
And a lot of questions on whether or not the Cavs could answer the bell here. And the way they came out to start this game was incredibly impressive. They played about as perfect a first couple quarters as I think they could have played with the circumstance.
Yeah, I mean Max Strus certainly answered the bell. Donovan Mitchell had 50. Those two were absolutely insane. Jared Allen played his butt off, 22 and 12 for him, and yeah, they had control. It was just to go to the very last possession when Tyrese gets the rebound and hits the three, you can't give up that shot. I mean, I know Ty Jerome is it's his first playoffs and he was guarding him, right?
Yeah.
So you let him get past you and you rely on the other four guys to either step up or like there's only a second left, so a one dribble and a kick out to the 3-point line would have been really cutting it close. And Halliburton is the guy. So you just cannot give up that step back. It never comes down to one play like that. I mean, if you want to let me talk about it, I mean the Cavs were up 17 at the end of the third quarter. They missed a free throw and give up a corner three to go down to cut it a 14-point lead to go to the fourth. And then within the first 4 minutes, it's a 10-point game. And at that point, Indiana just played with it looked like more effort and toughness, and they wanted it more down the stretch. And the Cavs really looked like they were just waiting for the clock to run out.
Yeah, I mean, with three of their best players out, they definitely looked gassed throughout the game, and rightfully so. I mean, you're asking a lot of players to have an increased workload. Of course, Donovan Mitchell has one of his best games of his career. I mean, this guy, in order for the Cavs to have had a chance to win this game, they needed him to play like a superstar. And boy, did he ever, scoring the 48 points, getting to the free throw line a bunch, having incredible finishes inside. They got good play from, their supporting guys. Jared Allen, you said, had a very good game, along with Strus hitting a bunch of threes. Sam Merrill was key. And I thought the rebounding of Dean Wade was also huge in that lineup. Um, Man, this just had all the ingredients for the Cavs of having, just a great feel good victory with all your guys out. But like you said, the way that they started the fourth quarter really got them in a rough situation. The lead is cut in half. But even then, Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus were still making plays, getting to the free throw line. In Mitchell's case, he shoots 21 free throws. Strus hits a three late, and they're still up by 7 with a minute remaining. And after Strus hits the three, it's like, all right, there's a little bit of breathing room. It seems like that was the moment to exhale a little bit. But this Pacers team, for the second time in 1 week, comes back from down 7 in, a 40 to 50-second span. And really, it was a combination of their physicality on the defensive end, And the Cavaliers just really not being able to execute simple late game situations like boxing out on missed free throws. The Pacers missed, let's see, they missed 8 free throws in this game. And twice it in the final minute, it led to a second chance opportunity. First with the Neesmith dunk, then the Halliburton three.
Yeah, the Neesmith dunk was insane.
Inbounds either.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk. I was just trying to say the Neesmith dunk was unbelievable.
It seemed like that was the turning point. Um,
That and the fact that when Siakam got that foul call on him before Tyrese even hit the three, that we didn't have any challenges to challenge because or sorry, the Cavs didn't have any timeouts left. And well, it does feel like a little bit we're having, deja vu from just a week ago when Tyrese did the same thing on the Bucks and they came back from down 7 with under a minute. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's deja vu from last Tuesday when this happened against Milwaukee. It feels like deja vu from literally last night as we're recording this, where OKC is in a very similar position and they give up a game, an important home game to Denver.
Right.
I think a couple things that you could point to was with let's see, under a minute remaining in this game, 46 seconds to go in the game after Donovan Mitchell commits the offensive foul.
Yeah.
There was a situation where Donovan Mitchell is then taken out of the game to just try to give him some blow. I mean, he was dealing with cramps throughout the game. Obviously, he has such a big load on him with the other guys out of the lineup. And with him out of the game, after the Cavs gave up a layup to Pascal Siakam to cut the lead from 5-3, they couldn't get the ball in bounds because Mitchell wasn't in the game, and the other guys out there. When Mitchell, besides Mitchell, it was Max Strus, Ty Jerome, and Isaac Okoro really bringing the ball up the floor. And in late game situations, you want Donovan Mitchell out there, and he wasn't out there, so Cleveland had to use their final timeout, which then didn't give them the ability to challenge on that later, play. But man, this is just such a heartbreaking loss, for how well they played without their guys. And, a game where I truly feel like the Cavs outplayed the Pacers for, for a majority of the game. And the Pacers really didn't have a standout player. It felt like, Mitchell, obviously, with his 48 points, was the key player. Strus and Allen, their impact, I thought, was fantastic. But then on the Pacers side of things, you got a regular game from Andrew Nemhard, finally came back down to earth a little bit. You look at his counting stats, he had 13, 7, and 13 assists, but he had 8 turnovers. Indiana was turning the ball over a lot, so he wasn't that great. Pascal Siakam didn't have a good game. Haliburton was very below his normal standard to start the game, and you lose on your home floor to go down 0-2. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I don't think it was a signature win by any means for Indiana, but it wouldn't have been the case for the Cavs either. What it would have been is obviously like a good morale boosting win when you had your backs almost against the wall here in a dang near elimination game, winner must win game situation here, and a bunch of guys out. So it would have been a great morale boost after having lost just 2 nights before in your home court. But like I said, just came up like 1.1 seconds short there. And I don't know when Tyrese Haliburton got that rebound before he dribbled back out to the 3-point line. It just seemed like the Cavs like stood up, like got out of their stance, like stopped playing for a minute.
They probably thought the Pacers might call a timeout because they still had a timeout remaining. Rick Carlisle just let them play it out, but
I guess what I'm saying is that was kind of like I feel like that was their attitude the whole time towards the stretch was like, we'll just give up this to burn 24 seconds if we can. Not necessarily give up this too, but like they were not locked in on the defensive end in the last quarter.
yeah, I mean it seemed like they were kind of almost in shock of what was going on themselves as well.
Exactly.
And you can point to, a guy like Ty Jerome who's been great all season. He's been brutal in this series. In this game particularly, he, really didn't step up when the Cavs needed it. But I mean, besides him, I don't you couldn't really ask much more from this team, to perform that well, which makes the loss obviously a lot tougher.
What was the feeling walking out of there?
What
What was the feeling walking out of there?
out of for me walking out of the arena, obviously deflation and just heartbroken because obviously, like we keep saying, I mean, it's so heartbreaking. I mean, I don't even know what this would rival as far as Cleveland Cavalier losses, as far as heartbreaking. Only one this probably would rival is what game one of like the 2018 finals with the J.R. Smith blunder or whatever. But I don't even know. I mean, but there's two similar situations where Cavs obviously aren't expected to win the game, but this is a game that the Cavs absolutely had. They were at home, but obviously fell short. But my feeling walking out of the arena, I don't know why, I'm somehow a little bit more confident in the Cavs' ability to come back in this series after this game because for most of the game, for 3 quarters, I mean, they were up basically 17 going into the 4th quarter before the Neesmith corner 3. And they had played exceptionally well in the defensive end. It seemed like they were completely locked in on stopping the Pacers in fast break opportunities, guarding their man, not allowing them to have a whole lot of open threes. And obviously the Pacers reverted back to normal a little bit on the shooting. Obviously, the Cavs not able to win the game, but because of the defensive game plan they were able to have against Indiana, and the fact that they can maybe potentially get some bodies back for Game 3, it has me feeling a little bit confident. Obviously, being down 0-2 going on the road is not an ideal situation, and it would be a heck of a circumstance for them to come back. Not a lot of people are going to have them coming back in the series. I wouldn't count them out yet. I think that they've been too good to just count them out. I definitely think we'll see some fight in Indiana.
I agree with you 100%. I think it would be wrong to count them out. And I got your text right after the game, and I thought it was interesting you say, uh, I feel great about the rest winning this series. I feel even better. And I understood what you said when I got the text, but I still was like, I don't know if I feel the same way because um, yeah, I didn't know if I felt the same way at the time because it was such
Well,
a
yeah, because
heartbreaking
you're
loss.
down 0-2 losing both games at home. I mean, I think it's only happened 5 times in league history where that team that was down ended up and winning the series. But I mean, I think it is logical thinking. I mean, they played great for 3 quarters, but I seriously think that the loss came down to them just not having the gas to finish off the job here. And if they can get those guys back, even if it's 2 of the 3, if Garland, Mobley, or Hunter can be back, then there is some hope still because this team has been very deep all season. The fact they were able to compete like this in this situation, I think, is was very impressive. But either way, just gotta give we've talked a lot about the Cavs and them blowing the game, obviously, because we're Cavs fans. But huge credit to the Indiana Pacers, who have honestly looked like the best team in the playoffs, which is crazy to even say that. But they have played lights out, obviously in the Milwaukee series and in this Cleveland series. I mean, the way they've been able to just find a way when it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to have that energy and have the ability to win a game, they find a way to do it, and it's been really impressive to see how they've played.
Yeah, I do think that they've looked like the best team and the most complete team and like the team with the best identity who like plays true to themselves with their rotation of guards between Nemhard, Haliburton, and I'm gonna count like Neesmith and Matherin. Like those guys have all the potential to get 20 points on any given night, and then you throw in Siakam and Turner. It's just really I didn't even mention like TJ McConnell. You know I love my boy Jarris Walker, but they're not really in the rotation right now. They can throw in Obi Toppin as an X factor. Like they have a really good roster, and sorry, the Cavs or well, Indiana in the last 2 years it's kind of been the kings of beating up on what Miles? What are they the kings of beating up on?
Injured teams. I mean, there is no other way around it when you take a look at the last couple of years. Running through Milwaukee last year with Damian or no Giannis out for the whole series. Damian got banged up in that series, and then New York, who had man, yeah, you can't even count all the injured Brunson,
Yeah,
Randall, Robinson, Bogdanovich off the bench, and running up into Boston.
that
Um,
one-legged OG Anunoby going off
right,
there in that
one-legged OG
series.
Anunoby in that series as well. And I think rightfully so. We're thinking in the offseason at the start of the season when they struggle, oh man, this might have been a fluke of a run. And I still think that it maybe was. I don't think that if those teams were healthy that they would have necessarily won those series. But this year, I think obviously facing Milwaukee, they were injured with Damian Lillard. Cleveland is completely banged up at the top, but they have proven that look, in the Milwaukee series, we've said it before, even if Lillard was healthy, I think Indiana still would have dominated the series. That's how impressive they were. And this Cavs team, I mean, the Pacers have just played so well. I mean, I think obviously the Cavs would have won one of these two home games, but you still can never tell. The Pacers have been that good. They've looked a lot better this year than they did last year, and they deserve a ton of credit for just the way they've played, the resiliency, in the few moments that they haven't looked at their best. And now they're going back home to Indianapolis with, a 2-0 lead and having all the momentum right now. So huge shout out to the Pacers for the way they play.
Yes, sir.
But I still believe in the Cavs. Hopefully they can make this interesting. Unfortunately, we've got to deal with a couple of days here with no games
We
where
both
the
picked Cavs
media.
in 7, so we look all right right now still.
Yeah, we both have Cavs in 7, which is still definitely a possibility because all it takes is for the Cavs to win 1 or 2 games in Indiana to get back into the series. But moving on here, we had the first game of a second round series, the Golden State Warriors versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Warriors won this game 99 to 88. And man, oh man, Nick, this was a very strange game. Now, obviously, since I was at the Cavs Pacers game, I wasn't able to catch the first half of this game. So when I looked at the box score and saw that the score was 44 to 31, and then looked a little closer to see that Anthony Edwards had 1 point, Draymond Green was the leading scorer with 16 points. And then you mentioned that the Wolves hadn't made a three. I'm like, how did this happen? So what even happened in that first half?
Well, yeah, you mentioned Anthony Edwards at one point. He made his second free throw with about 3 minutes left in the second half.
Oh man.
Just quiet before that. But yeah, it was ugly, 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 ugly. Um, the Wolves couldn't buy a bucket. Started the game, started over 13 before they finally quit shooting and just tried to attack the paint a little bit more. But Draymond Green, 4 first half threes here tonight, and getting to the bucket. Had a nice little two-handed off 2 feet dunk. Almost did a front backflip after just holding on to hit so much momentum on the rim. But it was yeah, it was just a missing Anthony Edwards. Nothing falling um for Minnesota, and then Draymond, and it was really Jimmy as well, getting a lot of second chance opportunities. He had 5 offensive rebounds in the first half, and Steph did play great. He was 5 of 9 with I think three threes. Um, before he went out with like 6 minutes to go in the second quarter with what was called a hamstring injury. They showed the tape on him. They showed like just a steady cam on him from the last 45 to 50 seconds before Steve Kerr called a timeout to get him off. And it was just him. You could see like the moment where he started to like pinch at it and grab at it with his hand, and then he just continued to like go up and down the court 3 or 4 times and had his hand like on the back of his leg the whole time.
Yeah, and that'll be something important to watch for going forward if Steph Curry has to miss any future games of this series. Obviously, huge that Golden State took game 1 because they had that cushion early. They needed to take this game, especially with Steph Curry out in Minnesota having a brutal offensive game. What did Golden State do, in your opinion, Nick, to make things so difficult for Anthony Edwards and the entire Timberwolves offense?
Well, they were in zone a lot, and I would say that was probably the main thing was just them getting to shooters on the perimeter when they got catch and shoot opportunities because the zone allowed them to not be too far off in space while still being able to like defend a drive from Anthony Edwards at the top of the key. So on catches, they were not more than like 5 or 6 feet off, and that allowed them to get a hand up on their shots. And then they couldn't really get Rudy any touches in there either because Draymond did a pretty good job of being physical and even Buddy Hield and they played Pat Spencer a lot in the second half. I don't think he was in there in the first because Steph was still healthy. But yeah, it was just the zone. They weren't allowing inside touches to Rudy. They weren't allowing straight line drives from Ant. And then because they were in the zone, like they couldn't get catch and rip opportunities on the perimeter much either. Um, that's what Minnesota really needed to do was like move the ball and then attack the gaps before the zone had time to move. But they just weren't able to beat the zone.
Yeah, and those catch and drive opportunities are what made them so successful against the Lakers in the first round, specifically Jaden McDaniels, who only goes for 12 points on 6 for 12 shooting. Interested to see what they do to kind of adjust to this Golden State defense. Because it's not like Golden State had that crazy of an offensive explosion either. I mean, they only shot 39% from the field. They actually shot better from three than two. And it was different suspects knocking down the threes. You mentioned Draymond Green hitting four of them. Jimmy Butler had some wild shot clock cheese 3 pointers. Gary Payton had two. And in the second half, got to talk about Buddy Hield. He got
Yeah.
himself going in the third quarter, finishes with 24 points and 8 rebounds. His play on both ends of the floor has been huge for the Warriors, especially in these last few games, including the game seven against the Houston Rockets. I mean, the defense that he's played has allowed him to stay on the floor. And then when Steph went down, you know, they needed a guy that could go get his own shot. And Buddy Buckets got a lot of opportunities and knocked down most of those chances. I mean, allowing 11 combined offensive rebounds to guys like Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler is just unacceptable for a Timberwolves team that has the advantage, on the size advantage, on this team. But those also allowed Hield and Butler to get going, scoring wise, even when their shots weren't falling early. They still had an impact on the game, and eventually they were able to get their buckets to go in.
Yeah, and Kaminga was out there for a little while after Steph got hurt, and I saw Steve Kerr rather call at least one timeout to get Kaminga on the same page as everybody else defensively. But other than that, he was fine and made a couple shots and created a couple others for some other guys. So we'll see how that's something to definitely track as the series goes forward because Minnesota isn't gonna just lay down. Like they really made a good attempt at coming back here in the second half. Buddy Buckets hit a big shot that took the lead from like 9 to 12 with under 3 minutes left, and after that, it was kind of game. But for a minute there, Anthony Edwards looked like he was gonna just lead Minnesota, and maybe one or two more shots would have kept them like within a possession or two, and it could have gone either way. But yeah, definitely something to track is just Kaminga's play because there were times where Golden State, without Steph, rolled out a lineup that had Jimmy on the bench, Draymond on the bench, and it was like Kaminga, Post, Cam Spencer, Moody, and maybe like another guy. And when they were in that zone, like they were able to at least hold water while Minnesota attempted to come back in the second half.
Yeah, I think that Warriors rotations will be something to watch because, of course, if Steph Curry's out, I mean, they lose their scoring ability. They obviously lose their best player, but on the Timberwolves side of things, you mentioned Anthony Edwards. He did get going after that 1 point in the first half. Finished with 23 points and 14 rebounds, and most of those buckets were off of attacking and driving and finishing right at the rim. So we'll see if he can get his jump shot going. If any of these Timberwolves players can get their jump shot going. I mean, they shot 5 for 29 from three. Naz Reid was 3 for 7. So you take him out of the equation. They shoot 2 for 22 from three at home. Not the best, situation there. But heading into game two of this series, now Minnesota down 1-0. What is one key thing you're looking at for both teams?
Well, I think that Julius Randle can be really impactful when he has the ball, and sometimes like if AE is going to go 0 for 8 in the first half, like he should look to give it up maybe a little bit more and let Julius Randle be that guy to put AE on the wing and maybe on a catch and shoot opportunity, you can get a better feel for a 3-point look or a rip and go.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun to watch how the Timberwolves can respond here, facing some adversity again, their first real adversity of the playoffs. But yeah, man, that's it for the games. Incredible. All five second round series. The road team has won and gotten the upset. At least for game ones, it's the first time in NBA history that the road team in each series took game one in a divisional or conference semifinal. Um, crazy that all these teams that have been so good during the regular season are now facing, some huge adversity here coming up. And we've got a couple games here tonight where we're going to see how those teams can handle it. First at 7 on TNT, it's game two of the Knicks Celtics series with New York just barely inching out of Boston with that overtime victory after the Celtics missed all those threes. Nick, what's something that you're watching heading into game two of that series?
Points in the paint. See if Boston is less reluctant to attack because, like, between Jalen Brown, Derek White, Jason Tatum, even Al Horford, they're all kind of like catch and shoot first guys, and none of them really look to get to the rim first. So they need to do that because, well, I mean, if they instead of missing 45, they make 20 of those, like this time, they'll be fine. So
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of just, if they'll be back on their game or not. I mean, I talked about it on the recap yesterday on just, man, they had three players miss nine or more threes. That's just incredible. I mean, you missing 45 threes in a playoff game is just unheard of. But yeah, excited to see how the Celtics will respond. And if the Knicks can come out with that same defensive intensity as they did in game one, because that was very impressive. I know you and I didn't have this series going longer than 5 games in Boston's favor. And New York has showed that they're going to make this, try to make this a competitive series. So excited to see how the Celtics respond. And then the nightcap, game two between Denver and Oklahoma City after Denver basically pulled off an Indiana Pacers in game one and stole that game in OKC. The Thunder, huge must-win game now, down 1-0 there against the Denver Nuggets. What are you going to be watching for most in that game, Nick?
well, I only got to watch the first half of that one last night. So it was interesting to see how overmatched I thought the Nuggets looked. Um, because OKC was just everywhere. They were swarming the ball when Murray had it and swarming the ball when Jokic had it. They were getting out. Like Caruso was just insane. Like even just on like a little post touch to Aaron Gordon, like he's on the ball before Gordon can even turn around to see what's going on. So I gotta imagine that the Nuggets were able to slow it down in the second half. I don't really know. But
Yeah,
I
they yeah, it was basically a carbon copy of what happened to the Cavs. Their offense just kind of slowed down a little bit and they were missing shots down the stretch and of course the execution in the final minute didn't go their way and Jokic went crazy, of course having the 42-22 and 6. That's just
unbelievable.
incredible stat line. If I had one thing to watch for in that game, it would be J-Dub to see if he can get it going because he did not have a very good game. It seemed like all of his shots were off. Thunder need that secondary guy on the offensive end to keep up with, Denver and just provide that boost offensively. But excited for all those games. These playoffs have been absolutely unbelievable. We
Yeah.
will be back for another recap tomorrow. So make sure you guys stay tuned in for that. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Sayonara.